Hi guys, welcome to my kitchen. Today I will be demonstrating chocolate chip cookies for you. We'll be following my favorite recipe actually, which is the original Nestle Toll House chocolate chip cookie recipe. I will be sharing this with you guys. I'll have it posted up on Canvas. If you'd like to make them at home, you may as well. Let's check out what we have over here on the counter. So on this side of my oven's in the middle. On this side of my oven though, I have most of our ingredients here. We've got the butter. This is 2 sticks of butter. My sticks are a little bit shorter. They're like quartered. They're a little bit fatter than a normal stick of butter that you might see, but they are 8 tablespoons each. So 1 stick of butter is always considered 8 tablespoons. We're using 2 sticks of butter in this recipe. So here are my 2 sticks of butter right there. And also a good thing to know, half a cup is also 1 stick. So good thing to know. We'll go over this on next week when we talk about measuring and math and all that fun stuff. 1 stick of butter is also 8 tablespoons of butter is also a half a cup of butter. So this recipe calls for 2 sticks of butter, which is of course 1 cup of butter, and 16 tablespoons of butter. So there's our butter. I have our eggs over here. Got our baking soda. We have some portion cups, which I'll talk about in just a little bit, how we go about using portion cups in the lab. Got flour in this tin, sugar in this tin. We've got our chocolate chips. We've got our salt. I've got my vanilla extract, and then brown sugar is in this little guy right here. So this is all of our ingredients for the chocolate chip cookies. Moving on over here, I've got some some equipment I want to go over with you guys. This is most of the equipment we'll be using for the chocolate chip cookies with the addition of a couple other things. So this guy right here, we won't use it until last. This one's got a little dirty. But this is actually the proper kitchen term for this guy is called a turner. So when we're done making our cookies, we're gonna, slide the warm cookies off of the cookie sheet onto the cooling rack with our turner. Official kitchen name is turner. You might call it something else at home, but that's a turner. We've also got our portion scoopers right here. I have 2 different sizes. This one's a little bit smaller, this one's a little bit larger, but they are portion scoopers. It's important when you're making cookies that they are always the same size. So you can go with big ones, you can go with smaller ones. There's also different sizes. As long as every cookie in your recipe though is the same size, you're good to go. We're not using this guy today, but it is important to know this is a liquid measuring cup. So whenever you're measuring a liquid, you utilize the liquid measuring cup for that. When you're filling something up, you get down on eye level. That's why they are clear and you can see how much you're filling up. So liquid measuring cup, not using it today, we will in the future. On the opposite side of that, we have our dry measuring cups. We will, of course, be using our dry measuring cups today. I've got 1 cup, half cup, 1/3 cup, 1/4 of a cup. So whenever you are measuring dry ingredients, you use dry measuring cups. Here they are. I've also got my tablespoon. This is your tablespoon. And I've got my teaspoons. 1 teaspoon, half a teaspoon. These are our teaspoons. And last but not least, I have my KitchenAid mixer right here, also called a stand mixer. Of course, if you had like a handheld mixer, you could use that as well for cookies, but I like to use my KitchenAid mixer. We've got some different attachments for the KitchenAid mixer. This right here is a dough hook. We will not be using this today, but this is a dough hook. This is a whisk. We will not be using the whisk today. For some reason though, a lot of my students love using the whisk always. I don't know why. You do not want to mix any type of dough with a whisk because it'll get all stuck inside of it. What we do want to use is the paddle mixer. So these are paddle mixers. They both do the same exact thing. This one is a little bit of an upgrade one. It's kind of cool. It's got like a scraper on the side of it. So if anything gets stuck on the side of the bowl, this side is working to not only mix, but it's also working to scrape the sides of the bowl. We're also going to use the rubber scraper over here. I've got a couple different sizes, but this is a nice rubber scraper. It's made out of silicone rubber, so we're able to scrape the sides of the bowl. Having everything ready to go in front of you, as I do, is called mise en place. Mise en place is a French word for everything in its place. Let's get started. All right, guys, here we go. So, first thing my recipe tells me to do is preheat my oven to 375 degrees. 375, pretty typical for a cookie recipe. Next thing I'm going to do is combine my flour, my baking soda, and my salt in a small bowl. I need 2 1/4 cup of flour. So this is a straight edge spatula. Take a look at how I'm going to use these things. So we need 2 1/4 cups of flour. Of course, we're going to use our dry measuring cups, right? Because these are dry ingredients. Get my 1 cup first. I'm going to take my spoon. And being above the container, I'm going to spoon. The flour into the dry measuring cup. So the way that I'm measuring it, it's a little bit heaping up top, right? It's coming over the top. That's where your straight edge spatula comes in. You're going to use your straight edge spatula to level it off and make sure that you have exactly 1 cup like that. Then you're going to go ahead and put that in the bowl. All right, next we're adding a teaspoon of salt as well as a teaspoon of baking soda. When I measure out my salt and my baking soda, I'm going to do so over a little portion cup. Just in case I spill it all, it goes right into here and I can dump it when I'm done. To get it flat, you can just kind of shake it. Take a look, that's even. Next thing we are going to do is cream our fat with our sugar. The term cream is used when you're mixing together fat. In this case, we're using butter. Other fats might be oils or shortenings or lard. But we're using butter along with our sugars, which is regular white sugar and brown sugar. So I'm going to start. Just 2 sticks of butter is what we need. Unwrap them, plop them in. When you're using butter, it's called the stick method. If you're using like a stick of butter to measure it, it's called the stick method. So if my recipe called for like 2 tablespoons of butter, or if it called for like 1/4 cup, that'd be 4 tablespoons of butter, right? Since 1 stick is 8 tablespoons, also a 1/2 cup. You can see through it and you just take a knife through the wrapping and you cut it. Calls for equal amounts of granulated or white sugar as well as packed brown sugar. Calls for 3/4 of a cup. Here's the thing though, I only have 3 measuring cups, 3 dry measuring cups. I've got 1 cup, 1/2 cup, 1/3 of a cup, and 1/4 of a cup. I need 3/4 of a cup. This is where recipe math comes in. I need to figure out how I am going to make 3/4 of a cup with what I got here. There's 2 different ways to do it. I can either do 1/4 3 times, or I could do 1/4 plus 1/2 to get 3/4. All right, guys, this is my brown sugar. When it comes to brown sugar and using brown sugar in a recipe, it's very important that you read the directions and realize that in almost all cases, not always unless it specifies, you need to pack brown sugar in. So hopefully you guys have worked with brown sugar before. It's kind of like wet sand. It's got a thicker density to it. Then with the back of the spoon, pack it in there. All right, so here's my packed brown sugar. I'm gonna just dump it in there and watch how it kind of holds its shape like that. So we're gonna start mixing or creaming these together. Gotta lock the side. right, one last ingredient we have not talked about yet, and that is our eggs. We have 2 eggs that we need to add. I am actually going to crack the eggs into a portion cup instead of straight up into the KitchenAid mixer. Not something you should do. Couple reasons why. First reason is we don't always crack eggs perfectly. Sometimes we get a little bit of shell in when we're cracking our eggs, so I wouldn't want that shell to be right into my cookie dough. And I'm able to see in the portion cup if I got any shell in there, which I did not. Looks good. We're also going to beat up the eggs before we add them into our mixture. All right, last ingredient to complete our chocolate chip cookies are, of course, our chocolate chips. This recipe calls for 2 cups of chocolate chips. Again, using our dry measuring cup. I'm gonna go ahead and dump that first cup in. Second cup. About a cup right there. So when you add your chocolate chips in, you are folding them into the cookie dough. And what you're supposed to do is go around the edges of the bowl and just fold it over to get it all in there. So go around the edges, fold it in. That is a lot of chocolate chips.